it's this emotional pull that it has on you. And I find every day when I get up and come out here, the first thing I do is open the window, open the curtain to see if I can see the mountain. And it's sort of an indicator that it's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
After being away a few days, you sort of get this feeling of pining for the mountain.
You do. And coming home is that wonderful anticipation
Yes.
of when you're going to see the first
Yes,
sight of it.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's it. This might sound nuts, what I'm going to say, but I think you need to ask the mountain what it needs. And I think the answer will come. And I don't know what that answer will be. And I don't mean this as cop-out either. I think we need to respect the mountain a lot more than we do. If I'm correct, somewhere out of Eltham, there's a whole buried forest. And how often do we think about that? And I think places like that need to be respected and not used and not abused. And there's many such places around Taranaki. But perhaps that's the way it should be, you know, that they're not publicised, but the people who will respect them and need to know about them will get to know about them. I was at a gathering not so long ago, and somebody stood up and said they thought that Taranaki was one of the least spiritual places they'd ever been to. And a number of us there were quite stunned and thought, you're wrong. In fact, just the opposite is the case. But it's something you need to find for yourself. It's not out there, and I don't know what that person was looking for, because obviously they hadn't found it. And perhaps the place only reveals that side of itself. It's there, but it's there for everybody, but you have to go and you have to find it for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think until you've found it for yourself, you can't even begin to understand it. And until something is raised to consciousness, you really can't respect it or treasure it, or there's a knowing that actually words won't express what the importance of it or how you feel about it.
I suppose going back to what we talked about earlier, the way that the mountain has, it's the mountain we need to thank for the soil type, the way the climate we get, the way that makes things grow well, and honour that, and make sure we don't get in the way with pollution and all that.
Yesterday I was pulling out a lot of stuff and digging in the garden, and there was a blackbird, and it was coming so close to me all the time, and I turned around and there it would be, and as close as that, and I'd dig something and it'd pick up a little twig or something and bounce off, and it was making noises, and I suddenly felt, oh, you're far more than a bird. You know, you are far more than a bird, and it was really communicating with me. And I wondered what its experience was, that it had appeared to either have incredible courage or no fear to come close and stay close like that. And I know that's an introduced bird, but I think we can have far more interconnection with birds and trees and animals and plants, and because we're all part of the same one. We're all nurtured by the same thing. And if we want to get technical, there's not that much difference in our DNA.
I was thinking of a few years ago I used to go tramping with the tramping club, and I could, not being all that fit, I could cope with their easy walks. And I remember climbing up the Kaitaki, yeah. And the hands that have been there for ages, done this lots of times, they kept commenting on, gee, this looks so, the undergrowth looks so lush. And it was only about 6 months after the 1080 had been dropped, and here we were seeing the undergrowth just bursting away, and the bird life that for a while you hardly heard, and now there it was again, which sort of raises the same things you raised. I mean, we instinctively sort of say, 1080 must be terrible, but the alternative for the mountain is worse.
Yeah, you're right.
I think there are some interesting things happening in schools. As a result, in fact, sometimes there are some schools, I think, where they actually had a school garden where the kids can grow the veggies and grow things to eat for lunch or whatever. And my hunch is that children who have been exposed to that, and it's been that sort of nourishing what we the soil and the garden and we can actually have some for lunch, does something to make I think in future probably alters the way they. Good heavens, there's rain. But it alters the way they think about growing things and probably think about what the mountain is too, because that's tied up with growing things. And
I think it has to start with the individual.
oh, sure.
And I think we can be very critical of other individuals in this process. And I like what you said about the gardens, and I see another aspect of it too. It's putting different generations working together for a common goal. And often I think this isn't recognised until later in life. So how can we make it recognisable for people earlier than that, and not criticise people's ways of doing things, but I think being prepared to expose yourself more in what you believe in, rather than fearing the outcome.
I think of projects like there's a walkway down to Back Beach, isn't there, following that stream. I can't remember what it's called. And that was sort of created, I think, quite recently.
Yeah, I think it was just a couple
and
of years
with
ago.
help of school children
That's right.
and parents who are really interested and so on. And if that doesn't do, if we're thinking about changing attitudes, and I suspect this does a lot to change attitudes. Whether it does or not, I don't know, but it seems to me it would.
It's the matter of striking the balance between having what we need but creating what we need for other people. Listen to the people and take their thoughts on board. And I know listening takes energy and a long time, but people's thoughts are valid. And I don't think that always happens. Because I think people very naturally surround themselves with people who they think will give them the answers that they want to hear. But they're not always the right answers.